Well, hello everyone, it's Charles here, and I just can't get the information out to you fast enough if I'm just editing videos all the time. I need another way to do it. I need to do it this way. It's the traditional way of Wise Up, and another awesome YouTuber, Mud Fossils University, previously known as Mud Fossils. Now, do you know what this is, guys? By the way, guys, I just want you to just calm down a bit. There's a blood pressure warning for this video. That's a door. That's the front door of the Sphinx on the north face. No one knows about this. It's been bricked up by archaeologists. There was an archaeologist in 1926 called Emil Bazar, and his task was to make the Sphinx ready for tourism, ready for the tourists. So he went around with bags of cement, lots of bricks he found all over Giza, and he bricked it all up. It's all been bricked up. It's all been fixed up. And we don't know what's in there. Where does it lead? What's going on? But I have to tell you that the fact that this, when I read this just now in a book by Robert Temple, a brilliant book, The Sphinx Mystery, I really recommend that book. Well, it just told me that this was a 3rd or 2nd dynasty mastaba. That's what the Sphinx probably used to be before a geopolymer head was attached. We're going to get onto that. Now, if we look at the head, I made a video a while back saying the head was artificial, fake, and it was attached because it's clearly a different color. People say, hang on a sec, people have told me in the comments, hang on a sec, it's actually made from the same rock as the rest of it. Fine, it could simply be a geopolymer. I believe Khufu got the secret of geopolymer from someone in the New World, or he was working with someone in the New World. It was trade. And they brought the Philosopher's Stone, as it was called, to Egypt, which was the secret of geopolymer, of man-made stone. What is geopolymer? Geopolymer is a mixture which hardens into real rock. Cement is a mixture which appears to be rock, but after 100 years goes back into a sand form. Now, if you look at this, I put it to you, this looks very much like a kind of stepped pyramid which has been highly eroded. I think this is a north-south mastaba with east-west facing door. And guys, I want you to just have a look here. Just have a look here. Another door. This is the south side, so I've just found another door. Another doorway which has possibly been bricked up on the south side. Right there in the middle, that's a door. Look, and you can find these things all the time just by looking. You just have to look. See, it's incredible. It's just incredible. But getting back to the head, that head is hollow. Now, Robert Temple had a very interesting thing to say because he's actually been inside the Sphinx. He said it's got like a small cavity. You enter it from the back. And there's actually a tunnel, and you can actually go up into, and the tunnel actually leads into the head, but it's a very rickety ladder to get up there, and it's got nothing really to grip onto, so he was a bit hesitant to go up there. But there's not that much room. There is room, but not that much room in there. So the thing is, this is hollow. This is hollow. I think this was attached in later times with a kind of geopolymer cement. How could this have been done? I believe it was done in Khufu's time. I've made another video saying, look, this is Khufu's daughter, Nefertiarbet. She's wearing the leopard dress. She was hated. Khufu's daughters were hated. They were remembered as harlots by the Egyptians. So Khufu was hated. I believe that is Khufu's daughter. That is clearly a female. People have said it's a male king. It cannot be a male king because of the female face. That's the disqualification. It's a female king, the ears match. I think this is a 4th dynasty construction. It's a 4th dynasty geopolymer attached to this much older mastaba. Now, I made another video back in the day showing an overhead view of the Sphinx. And basically, I showed it was twin towers. I think that's because it was probably a twinned-horned kind of structure. This is Minoan. Now, of course, the Egyptians, they worshipped Hathor and the cow, the sacred cow, the horned goddess. This was a pre-Egyptian deity. So if the Sphinx is pre-Egyptian, it was twin horns sticking up, and they were themselves facing east-west, while this Sphinx faces north-south. East-west, sorry. Now, this is quite interesting. This is just so interesting. So what did the Sphinx used to look like? Well, it used to look like this, which would have given plenty of motive and opportunity for the Egyptians to stick a geopolymer head on top. It was buried. even in Khufu's time, I think it would have been buried. Although it wasn't a desert, it was what you would call a savanna. There were trees, there were lots of trees around. It was a much better sort of landscape, but still soil would get in. I think it would have been buried. So they simply saw this round thing sticking up out of the ground, and they attached a sort of mold, and they attached geopolymer around it. I think there was a complementary mold for this in order to create this geopolymer. I think clearly a geopolymer construction, which was then affixed. I think that's what's going on. I think it's molded. I really do. I think it's geopolymer, because Khufu would have used geopolymer in the Great Pyramid. Everyone has said it's a different color, and they've said so in their paintings. So we can go all the way back to the 19th century. This is a painting of Napoleon in front of the Sphinx, and even this artist clearly represented this as a different color, and even a different type of stone to the rest of the construction, which is quite interesting. Really interesting, really interesting. So, having said all that, what was the Sphinx? I think it was something like this. This is an early dynastic mastaba at Saqqara, although the Sphinx may have been a naturally carved, certainly a naturally carved mastaba. It still resembles a mastaba quite significantly, and here's the thing. If you look at a map of the alignments at Giza, what you're looking at is all these mastabas. So what happened was, in the 4th dynasty, you had these north-south facing mastabas with east-facing doors. The Sphinx is a little different. If we look at the Sphinx over here, it's basically facing east-west, so the door would be on the north side, and also that door I just showed you on the south side. That's to face the north circumpolar stars, so that when the king is dead, he can become a star. Therefore, the mastaba form of the Sphinx, the earlier form of the Sphinx, before it had the head, I think it was attached in Khufu's day, would certainly, definitely have been a type of mastaba for burial. I think that's clearly what it was, which would mean that there is a shaft under the Sphinx. I'm telling you now, there would be a big shaft under the Sphinx, just like you find in mastabas. There must be a shaft there, which leads to an underground maze. There was a maze under every single mastaba. Yeah, this is just incredible. This is just incredible. Now, this is what a mastaba at this is what a so-called 4th dynasty mastaba looks like. So the Inca stuff was already being made at Giza in the 2300s BC, which is just, or the 2500s BC, which is just incredible. So much for those dates on these Inca constructions that you find all over the world. I mean, can we really trust them? It's ridiculous. But as you can see, in the 4th dynasty, the doors were on the east side. In earlier dynasties, the door was on the north side or the south side. Therefore, I'm putting this as a pre-dynastic construction. In addition, the Sphinx is in a pit surrounded by water. According to the myths at Giza, picked up by Herodotus, Khufu himself was buried down a shaft on an island surrounded by water. So were they actually picking up an even earlier myth about the Sphinx as a tomb of a great king, perhaps the builder of the Great Pyramid? And right now I'm going to link the Sphinx to the Great Pyramid, because here's the problem with the Sphinx and the pyramid. They're sort of linked, because archaeologists say that the Giza stones are built from the same material as what has been taken out of the Sphinx pit, which is quite interesting. So if we put the Sphinx backwards in time, we must also send the Great Pyramid behind it backwards in time to when the Sphinx was carved. They are inextricably linked, but this gives us the ultimate clue as to the origin. We can already see that this would have been, because it had a north-facing door, a 3rd dynasty, a 2nd dynasty, even a 1st dynasty mastaba going right back to 3000 BC. This automatically, I think, vindicates what Robert Schoch was saying, that the Sphinx is much older. We're all saying the Sphinx is much older. You can tell straight away. These are old kingdom repairs done by Khufu. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, guys, I hope you've really enjoyed that. So we've covered that the Sphinx had a north-facing door, which leads to the conclusion it was a mastaba before this head was attached. It looks like a mastaba, which is a kind of rectangular step pyramid. Before that, it may have been a kind of horned figure, because the horned figure was venerated even in Egypt long before. So it may have been a pair of horns sticking up out of the ground. Just unbelievable what these Egyptians came up with. Anyway, guys, hope you've really enjoyed that look at what the Sphinx used to be before it was the Sphinx. Cheerio.